Mafia, are you ready?
He said, "Are you ready?"
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome everybody to Brotherly Love Wrestling, and on today's show, the guest we have is Boar. Boar, welcome to the show.
Big Daddy
for having me. That's me, Big Daddy Cool. I'm good. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing good. It's a holiday. We got you in on this is our first holiday show, like actual legitimate holiday show,
sweet.
I think. So kudos
Breaking
to
ground.
us. Yeah, kudos to us for doing this. Usually, I feel like holidays like this one is usually hard to get anybody. It's always on a Monday, and there's always something going on. I guess kind of post-pandemic is still people just trying to feel it out. It's like test the waters type thing. Like, do we go here? Do we go there? Do we still stay home? So I guess it's a little easier.
I've got a baby now. She's a year old, and I've come to the Thank you. I've come to the quick realization that like I'm no longer sacrificing my comfort for like other people's convenience. Like, it's a holiday. I'm staying home. I'm not traveling. I'm not doing anything. We're set. We're not going anywhere. We're just gonna enjoy the day at home.
So I have a 2-year-old, and I feel like she has become my perfect excuse. Like, I don't think we should go. It's too far.
Yes.
I don't think she'll sit in the car for that long. Like, and me, like, I kind of like I like doing things, but some places my wife brings me, I'm just like, you know how it is. You're just like, I don't think we should bring the baby.
Yep.
All right, we'll stay home. Okay.
Yep. You got it.
So
you got it.
She's coming. She's great, and she can work angles too with me. So, personal lives aside, we are a wrestling podcast, a loosely defined wrestling podcast, but still wanted that, and we'll pretty much hit everything. We as we greeted each other, we commented on each other's shirts, and you yourself have a Bret the Hitman Hart shirt on, and
That's right.
Dubbed him the GOAT. Now, the GOAT gets thrown around in all of sports. And it's all subjective. I mean, with other sports, there are numbers behind it. I mean, there's numbers behind wrestling, but we all know that the sport of wrestling, results-wise, isn't technically the same as results. I mean, unless they're throwing every Super Bowl and championship out there, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. They could be the best at kayfabe. We might not know. All sports.
I'd be mad if that was the case. If they were that good.
Like, man, we work our asses off to try and keep kayfabe for how long? And these guys have been doing it perfectly for years.
They're really committing with all the torn ACLs and all the injuries they got going on, and fake football.
CTE's not real. That's kayfabe.
That's the biggest scam of them all.
But
Just kidding.
But back to your GOAT, Bret the Hitman Hart. So it's different. Is that your favorite, or does it go both ways? Like, your favorite of all time is just happens.
Favorite, and I also believe he's truly the best.
You probably feel the same way about your favorite.
Yes, Shawn Michaels, I believe, is the greatest of all time. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm the only humble one on the show. Like always. My favorite, I know, isn't the greatest of all time. He's great. My favorite is Sting.
He's my number 2.
I mean, the sharpshooter and the scorpion deathlock. I mean, it's hard to choose. I go deathlock, but I'm sure you go sharpshooter. But, I mean, I know he's not. I know he's like a personal favorite. I know he doesn't have like the accolades. I mean, he's done it in almost every company he could have been a top guy, and he pretty much was.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's when you look at like at Flair. Flair's got longevity down. He's got the title reigns. I mean, it's like, who is the big, like, Stone Cold could be thrown in there. I mean, you have any one of those guys from the Attitude, a little bit before pre-Attitude era, and then after that, I think the only other person would be Jericho. that people would throw in there who's still around today?
Yeah, I think Jericho, Daniel Bryan gets thrown in there. I'm personally a huge Randy Orton fan as well.
One of the most underappreciated wrestlers, I think, at least today, because of he gets a bad rap for some reason, but I mean, he elevates everybody that he steps into the ring with, and I mean everybody. I mean, people, like, if you're paying attention, I feel, to what he's telling you, I feel like you're gonna benefit a lot from what because he's like the dying breed of like last of professional wrestlers. Yeah. Like, who just have it all down. They can do anything to get any emotion out of the crowd, like anything, and do it to perfection. I mean, he doesn't have the flashiest move set, but I mean, everything that he does is either quick and effective.
Right.
And
no
cerebral. Yeah. No, he's like the last of a dying breed when it comes to a complete package of what I would consider a professional wrestler.
Yeah, I'm a huge Orton fan. I agree with everything you said. I think it's going to take a while for people to kind of realize, like, oh wow, like he was really good all that time. And of course, he's got ups and downs, but like his down is like, I don't know. I'm not a big star rating guy, but I don't know what a 3-star Randy Orton match is like down. Like if that's your basement, like I feel like you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, and when he's like fully invested and he sinks his teeth into a storyline, you can tell like when he's dialed up, he's the best. I think from a character or a persona perspective, I think he's the best doing it right now.
Yeah,
I think that might be like him all the way up here, and I don't think the next closest is a little down further.
Yeah, like you look at that run he had from like last year's Royal Rumble to like SummerSlam, like it was ridiculous, and that was him trying. Like
yeah,
he's on a different level altogether. But what's your basis for Shawn Michaels being the GOAT? I'm always intrigued by this.
I'll sit back.
Conversation. So,
I don't think there's any wrestler who could ever do what Michaels did after a back surgery, missing the amount of time to come back and then put the quality of matches on and continue to steal the show. Not only, I mean, you could make it a case where both parts of his career singularly being Hall of Fame careers. That's how good Shawn Michaels was. And whether it was promo, whether it was just entertaining period, wrestling. Look, Bret and Shawn at 12 is one of my favorite matches, if not, 1A behind Taker and Michaels. But like, it's one of the greatest matches of all time. And even Bret said it, like, they had everything timed out, and he looked up at one point, and they were dead on with 5 minutes left in that match. It's just a masterpiece. But I just feel like, and Bret got gypped because of with Goldberg and getting injured, and he got his career cut short. So I don't think it's, for Bret, it's not that fair because you got cut short. If Bret would have kept going, it would have been interesting to see him make his way back to WWE and be able to do everything. But I think Michaels is the total package as far as a sports entertainer. And I think he has to be the GOAT. And Ric Flair called him the GOAT. So that is my other backing is Ric Flair. So yeah.
Okay. All right. See, my backing is Bret Hart, and Bret Hart called himself the GOAT, and Bret Hart is the GOAT. That's my opinion. My thing with Bret, because I do understand like the case for Shawn. For me, for Bret, you can take any person that Shawn had a good match with, and Bret has multiple good matches with that person, except for Undertaker. I think Shawn had unmatched chemistry with Undertaker. And of course, you got to compare pretty much their runs from, 87, 88 to 97 pretty much, because like you said, Shawn has that second portion of his career.
Yeah.
And there are times during that where he is untouchable for that time. My only knock on Shawn, I feel like he didn't have a great variety of people that he faced in his second run. It was a lot of guys who were already main eventers. It was a lot of his buddies, a lot of matches with Triple H. Like, the angle stuff is great. Whenever he does venture outside his usual circle, like the angle matches, fantastic. I really enjoyed the stuff he did with Legacy. Thought that was really good. The stuff he did with Orton was great. But, like, you got to get Shawn outside of his comfort zone of working with his buddies. That's my only knock on Shawn for his second run.
And I think, you know what? To that point, and I honestly would have said the first run, I didn't think there was enough of a variety of people. I mean, because obviously working with the Clique, working with Bret, and then Vader, Sid, Bulldog, like he had maybe, and that was about it. It was always the same. So that I would have said the second part of his career I see it too. I see what you're saying. But yeah, there's just something about both those guys and how they're drawn to each other and they're always linked together. So I mean, when I hear people say Bret Hitman Hart greatest of all time, I fully understand it. Now I don't agree with it, but I understand why he's there. Like it's not like it's unwarranted.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like because I'm more of a, and this is now he's outnumbered because I'm more of a Bret over a Shawn. I feel like everything, like don't get me wrong, that like the aspects of Shawn Michaels' game were incredible. Like the expressions, the selling. I don't know about the moveset or anything like that. I don't know if him actually tying up or locking up. I don't think that was anything special. But his character work was really good. I think of everything, I think his character work probably edges out Bret just a little bit. Bret always seemed to be a little bit more uptight when it came to the microphone and whatnot. But I feel like being in the right place at the right time, always moving and doing things with purpose, and very underrated when it comes to selling. Bret Hart, like when he's thrown into the turnbuckle, like he's the only one to give that. Like he goes into the turnbuckle, he makes you feel that turnbuckle shot. Like there are very few people that have ever carried that on or still even do that to this day.
Yeah, it's a unique bump. Like I haven't seen anybody be able to pull it off the way that he has. It's 100% unique, and it belongs to Bret.
Yeah. It's just that I think that every other, I think he just out nudges, like when the wrestler aspect, I think he nudges out Shawn. I don't know. I just think that if you're ticking boxes, I mean, longevity helps Michaels, but I think Bret got more quality out of everybody that he faced.
Right. Like my thing, it comes down to the matches with Shawn, right? Shawn has one good match with Diesel, one bad match with Diesel. Bret has 3 great matches with Diesel and 1 okay match with Diesel. Undertaker, that goes to Shawn. No questions asked there. Owen. Shawn has 2 bland matches with Owen. Bret has classics with Owen every single time they lock up. Razor Ramon. I would give the edge to Bret. And he didn't have the benefit of a ladder match either time.
I mean,
Mr. Perfect. Shawn's match with Mr. Perfect in '93 is a stinker, and Bret has 2 5-star matches with Mr. Perfect, in my opinion.
But here's the thing. Here's the big one. Austin. I mean, Michaels has a lot of good ones with Austin, but Bret has the best one with Austin, and that
the best match of all time.
That best one with Austin trumps everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it. Yeah, it's like.
Something tells me that Boar has had this conversation a lot growing up. Because, I mean, he has points on points on points. Like, you've done this before.
No, you got to have the receipts when you're back in the Hitman. Because I think Shawn also... Bret, we didn't have Vince screaming in our ears as, children or young adults or teenagers that, Bret Hart's the greatest of all time. That wasn't Vince's take on Bret at the time. It was always the most defending champion of all time. But with Shawn, starting in 95, it's, he's the most charismatic, greatest WWF superstar of all time. And it's every single Monday, and it's every single Saturday. We had that piped into our ears. So it's like...
Subliminal messaging.
It's the Lil Wayne effect, right? Best rapper alive, best rapper alive, best rapper alive. And when you hear, who's the best rapper alive? To your brain, Lil Wayne, right? If it's 2009. It's the same thing with Shawn Michaels. Who's the best wrestler? Who's the best wrestler? Who's the best wrestler? It's Shawn Michaels, because that's what we were programmed to think by Vince McMahon. I'm gonna go with Bret Hart. You can go Shawn Michaels. I do say I think '97 is both of their best years for character work. Like,
yes.
I think that's Shawn's best year, and I think it's Bret's best year as well.
And just so happens that they were pitted against each other.
Yeah.
So, and there was no true face either, which was pretty fascinating.
No, neither one.
You really wanted to hate them both in that one.
They brought out the worst in each other.
Yeah, like you could tell, like they hated each other. We're like, man, I kind of hate both these guys.
Yeah,
you're at that point. Like, I guess they were doing their job. If that was their job, then they did it very effectively.
Yeah, but it's all love. It's all love. I understand, appreciate the Shawn love, but I will back Bret all day, every day.
Yeah, there's if there's anyone that can get me riled up to the fact of where I'd be like, no, he sucks or she sucks, she's not good. Like, I don't think I have that in me to ever say anybody who likes someone and be like, all right, as long as you got a reason for it, then go for it.
Yeah.
As long as you're happy, I don't give a shit who your favorite is. So, moving forward, it was a good icebreaker. Cracked that ice. Cracked it wide open. So, there's so much to talk about wrestling-wise. I mean, it's finally opened back up to a point of where I think more and more shows are going to start running, and there's going to probably be, if not 50% capacity in most places, there's going to be 100% capacity in most places. In the indie scene, especially if you're only piling in like 100, 200, 300 people, I think, and they're running a lot of outside shows still just to be extra safe. So, through pandemic wrestling, we ask this question a lot because it's like no other question or no other topic that's ever happened before. Like, how was it through pandemic era of wrestling?
I think, fortunately, I came from, the Shikara Wrestle Factory, and we would do a lot of practice matches and practice match before you ever see an actual crowd in an actual event, in an actual match. So for me, it was kind of just going back to like, okay, this is like training, this is having a practice match, but it's all one take, it's live. So it did take a little bit to get used to because you don't have the adrenaline pumping from hearing the cheers or the boos or whatever it is, whatever reaction you're trying to get out of people. You don't have that. And so, in the rare case I would bump, that bump hurt just a little bit more because you don't have that adrenaline. That forearm, that hurt a little bit more than usual. A chop, that hurt, and there's no woo coming from anybody. Like, okay, yeah, that really hurt. So I think that was the biggest thing for me to get used to.
So I've been wanting to ask this, and as soon as we discussed you coming on, I'm glad because you are another one of the wrestlers that came from the Shikara factory and are now with Camp Leapfrog, and one of those that has a mask. But you have guys that have come from there who have now shed the mask, where you have a Max Zero, you have a very good professional wrestler. You have those guys that have done that. Now, going forward, the mask, was this given to you? Was this your idea? And are you sticking onto it?
So the mask came from somebody else, right? That it was a decision made by the higher ups to, hey, get some reps underneath the mask, and eventually one day unmask, and no one's ever going to know that that you were the Boar. But I think I got to give credit to like the fans that would come out to Shikara shows or any other show that I was on. Like, I felt like I had a really good connection with people, and they find something fun about the character. And as I got older and wiser and figured out how to market the character and figured out like, who is the Boar? What is the Boar? How does he wrestle? What does he do? What doesn't he do? It became like a uniqueness. And so I don't feel like I can just shed that and let that go. And I know some people maybe didn't have the attachment to their mask, or they might have looked at the mask as a burden. I look at it as it's something that separates me still from everybody else, because there's not that many masked men going around today, and there's not that many big masked men. And then as a black male, there's not many black masked wrestlers either. So it's something that still sets me apart, and it's a callback, I think, to like, 80s wrestling or early 90s wrestling with the characters, like, or a gimmick, if that's what you want to call it. Like, sure, I could unmask and I could come up with a clever name and I could just be dude in trunks and boots and tights or whatever. But like
dudes in trunks and boots and tights.
Yeah,
You'd be a German guy.
I still love Boar, and Boar has been very good to me financially for somebody who's never been on TV with my character. It's been very good to me in the merchandise department. So like that's also not something I'm trying to just like flush down the toilet. And I'm sure the day will come where I do Unmasked, but like I also plan on keeping Boar as a side character. Like I don't plan on completely just throwing that in the trash and being like, okay, gone with it, because I think there is something to the fans as well. If they've invested their money and their time and their effort and they've followed me along on this journey at whatever point they hopped on, I don't want to waste people's time or tell them, hey, what you just put into this character doesn't matter anymore because I'm moving on. Like, I kind of feel like that's even a little bit disrespectful to the people that have supported me, whether from day one or you're just hopping on now. So I value that, and I feel like that's kind of just disrespectful. So I would like to honor people's investment into the character as well.
That's cool, because I don't does anybody know that? Like, does anybody know that that's the reason that you don't want to demask or you want to keep the mask? Well,
I don't think so. Like, no one's really asked me. It's just like, when are you gonna unmask? Like, I don't know, when the time's right, when I feel like I've taken this as far as it can go and it's time for something else, and sure. But
I feel like that's cool though, because now like you don't hear about wrestlers that, I mean, they'll cut a promo and they'll say, hey, like, oh yeah, we appreciate you. They give you like the babyface promo, but like you can tell when it's genuine. Be like, yeah, we're trying to reward you guys for helping me out, and you don't really hear that a lot.
Yeah, it's the connection I've had with fans, with people, has been tremendous, and it's something that I still can't believe it. I'm like, oh man, like there's actual people that I'm somebody's favorite wrestler, and like that just blows my mind. Like how I talk about Bret Hart, a little kid might talk about me, and it just blows my mind.
Now, is that what keeps you going?
Definitely, it definitely does a little bit. But also just like professional wrestling is where I feel the most myself. It's where I feel the most comfortable when I'm inside a ring. And so like when I'm not wrestling or doing something wrestling related, like I'm cranky, I'm grumpy, I feel like I'm not living to my life's purpose. So like that's a big part of me continuing to wrestle as well.
So this last night was a big event in professional wrestling. It's AEW's Double or Nothing.
Double or Daddy, yes.
So, before we went on, we asked you if you still watch, at least the most popular stuff anyway.
Or whatever. I don't care if it's popular or not.
Yeah, but did you watch?
What's not popular to you might be popular to someone else. Wrestling is subjective, damn it.
Did you watch Double or Nothing last night?
Absolutely did. My boy Orange Cassidy was in my main event, at least. So that was really cool to see. And that Cyrus the Virus, Don Callis, man, we got heat now because he cost my boy OC the belt, and I thought it was going to be his night.
You know what? I found myself able to disconnect and just watch that, and I put this out earlier on Twitter. That was the first time like I got to the point of where I was invested. I think the last time I was this invested in a match was Daniel Bryan. But Daniel Bryan also, I think, had a better build when he won for 30, and there was a lot more going on there. But in the match, mid-match, and I came into it, I'm like, there's no way Cassidy's winning. There's no way Omega's losing the belt. And I came into it thinking that. And usually, if I go into it thinking that, it's going to be very, very hard to change my mind because I'm very stubborn. But that match actually had me thinking. I was like, I don't think Pac's winning, but god damn it, I feel like Orange Cassidy's winning this fucking match. And everybody in that arena felt the same. If he would have won, they had the crowd. If he would have won, the place explodes. I don't know what the hell happened. I'm like, look at, and Larry said it to me because we watched the pay-per-view. They're like, man, I wonder if they're in the back just going, what do we pull the trigger? I mean, like second guess, and like you have to be second guessing the game plan at that point.
I don't know what's going on back there. I know if I had my hands on the book, OC would be on the Today Show or something right now with the AEW World Title.
And like it's just to go out there and be who he is and to have him, like you just said, like the Today Show or something like that. Just have that out there, and the uniqueness of who he is. Like, just imagine the different fans that you're gonna bring in. Like I think, because Kenny Omega, yeah, he looks like a typical professional wrestler. Like, if you put him out there, be like, okay, I can see that. Orange Cassidy doesn't have that look, but he has that, like, aura around him, I feel. And this is me just speaking. This is me fanboying it up and trying to put as much knowledge I can into why I'm fanboying. But, like, I feel like he goes out there and he brings in new eyes. Like, he's something that's completely different. And I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I feel like it's going to be enough of people's, because when I first saw him, I was like, I didn't know anything about, like, that style of wrestling. And I saw him instantly. I mean, like, as soon as I seen him do, and he was there to witness it.
It was at Chikara.
It was at the Wrestle Factory.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was like something clicked. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And I couldn't explain why, but it was so much fun. Like, I didn't care about anything else.
Yeah, he started out as like an independent wrestling experience. You had to be there, I think, to fully understand the Orange Cassidy presentation, and he's managed to find a way to completely manufacture that experience to on screen, and so that now every time he's on screen, it recreates that same in-person experience. And then even if you are fortunate to go, down in Florida or wherever AEW is going to have events moving forward, it's an even different experience now, being in person with, like, the music and the best friends and the whole presentation. Like, I think that dude's the money. I think he taps into something with people now in the 21st century that I don't think a lot of other wrestlers have been able to tap into, with the kind of I don't care until I decide to care attitude. Like, I think that's really where people are at. Just like in the 90s, people were sick of their bosses with Stone Cold Steve Austin, and they wanted to see the man get taken down, and they were sick of doing the 9 to 5. And I think Orange Cassidy taps into that same kind of attitude that people have now.
God, that was such a good explanation.
It was way better than we would have came up with.
Way better than what I'm thinking. Like, man, that's perfect. Like, I tried to say something like that, but it didn't come out that way. Damn it. It is true. I mean, for all the things that you see in wrestling that are recycled, I've never seen this before. Like, it's unique. Insane.
It's unique character.
It is, and like, the history of wrestling, like, how many of those, like, truly unique characters have come about that weren't, like, somehow playing off of something else? Like, I don't know. Like, I'd have to really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, if this was sports, we'd say it's generational, right? Like, this is a generational talent. This is a generational gimmick character, whatever. But yeah, this is a generational star, I think, with Orange Cassidy.
And we always say, like, we were to ask, like, our normal show, like, and we've had guests on, like, who's going to be that person? Like, because every era has them. I mean, every era has at least one. I mean, you go back to the 80s, you got, the Hogans, the Savages, the laundry list. Then you walk into the 90s, and then the Attitude Era, you got your Rock Austins, you got your Michaels, Brets. The list goes on and on. Hunter at the leg end of that. But of people that everybody knows, like those larger-than-life characters, personas. And we ask him, we're like, who is going to be that next person to step up? Like, you've seen, like traces of it, or who they want you to believe. Like, you got your Roman Reigns. I thought potentially Seth Rollins had it at one point. But I think just, like, booking got him down. Like, look, all the like, greats, they were booked very strongly. They didn't lose that much. Like, some did. I mean, some have, like, but not, like, overly losing records.
Yeah.
But they're also going to get... Go ahead.
No, it's an uphill challenge now, because now you've got 12, 13, 15 pay-per-views plus weekly TV, plus if they happen to have you on SmackDown or Raw or whatever the different brand is, like, it's
too much
multiple
exposure.
Times. I don't know if it's too much exposure, but it is multiple times the exposure of a Hulk Hogan, of a Stone Cold Steve Austin, of The Rock. Like, it is just so much more TV to put out there now than there ever was before.
Yeah, I guess that, like, the too much content almost hurts it in a way. Like, you're getting too much of someone, but it's all people that, like, kind of, like, manufactured. You feel like they were just manufactured into this position. When, you really have rarely now a grassroots feeling of like, oh shit, this guy's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be here. He's not supposed to be where he is. And he's definitely not supposed to be in a main title picture and make it look that believable.
Yeah. And I don't know who's going to be next for this era. I don't know who that guy or girl or person is. But I will say, I think for any mainstream company, WWE, AEW, MLW, Impact, whatever, I do think there's something to the effect of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, people like them who have been put at the top of the company to be bigger than the company itself, leaving on their own terms, even more so CM Punk in more recent history, I think has made mainstream wrestling hand shy to book somebody or present somebody or let somebody organically get bigger than the company itself. And so I think until a company makes themselves vulnerable to be in that position again, I don't think we're going to have that next breakthrough superstar.
Wow, well, this is another take we have never heard before. And we've asked this question a lot.
No, I think it's probably the closest to what makes sense as far as the business goes, because you have look at The Rock.
I don't like that. Let them be vulnerable.
But look what The Rock can do to WWE. He can literally, whatever he wants to do, he can walk in and go, okay, we're going to do this. WWE goes, all right, do whatever you want. Same thing with, and look, even Batista has that power now. Batista had zombies on the pay-per-view because of the Netflix
I don't
movie.
think he requested that.
I'm just saying.
I'm pretty sure he didn't go.
He had his movie promoted in the middle of a pay-per-view during a match.
That's fine.
And he wasn't even there.
Yeah, he wasn't even there.
He's a guardian of the goddamn galaxy. He can do whatever he wants. He protects the galaxy.
That's the point, is that they do not want that. They don't want wrestlers coming in and being like, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, but
so they hold them down.
The names you just listed, like The Rock comes back, of course he can have the book. It's the fucking Rock. Like, look, like, you need those people. Because those people will always pay it back. Like, they'll bring those fans back. Like, you need those people. Like, anytime you hear the glass break, or you're mentioning a week prior that the glass will break, there's already going to be more eyes on it.
Yes.
And you know he's not wrestling. You know he's not getting in the ring. He can't. Physically, he can't. Or his neck will turn into dust. Like, that's the thing. Like, you need that in wrestling. And these are sometimes I get passionate about certain topics. This just happened to be one of them today. I'm in a good mood. It's a holiday. But, I mean, I feel like I need that. I feel like fans would be happier if there was that. Like, you would have, like, there wouldn't be this much gatekeeping of wrestling. Like, oh, we don't want any new fans. Like, when Bad Bunny came in and did his thing at WrestleMania, there was people complaining about it. I was like, this dude, like, legitimately looked like he busted his ass to entertain us.
Yeah.
And he's bringing in, like, millions. Not even like, oh, he's only bringing in a couple eyes. He's bringing in millions of eyes to this product, to wrestling. Yeah. Now you have to get someone to the point of where you get these new eyes to keep them there. And you need that person who feels like they're larger than life. You can't have these, like, just, oh, they're good wrestlers, they're good in the ring, but you don't have that person to keep you there. Like, you don't have that person that's good. You'll have someone that's going to entertain you. You might have someone that, like, oh, this looks pretty cool, blah, blah, blah. But how long is it actually going to keep you there for? How many new people are going to, like, how many people are they going to tell about it? Because word of mouth? Like, you need those people that are those, like, I think Jericho had it at one point. I think Daniel Bryan did have it at one point, too. Unfortunately, injury got to him, or he probably could have carried it a little bit further. And the whole landscape of WWE might have changed.
Yeah.
I've always equated, I think, mainstream wrestling, and for the most part over the years, that's been WWE because they've been pretty much the only mainstream game in town. I've always equated it to country music. When an artist gets too big for the genre, and country music's like, oh, whoa, hold on, you think you're leaving? Well, all right, well, we're just gonna replace you. We don't ever need to interact or talk to you ever again, right? Like Taylor Swift or Garth Brooks. Like, you can go on and on for a couple of the country music superstars that have superseded the genre and gone into pop or gone into another field.
I was just gonna say, Pop sitting in the back going, yeah, we'll take them.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. We'll take the guys that the mega superstars you don't want? Come on, we'll take them.
Right, and they go and they become bigger stars, and eventually they're like, oh yeah, like they came from country music. Again, it's like, oh yeah, The Rock, he came from wrestling. And so on one hand, it's like, oh yeah, we love The Rock. If I'm, mainstream wrestling, oh yeah, we love The Rock, but at the same time, we don't want The Rock to leave to go get bigger, if that makes sense, right? Like, you want larger than life personalities, but you don't want them
to leave,
becoming larger than life. You don't want them becoming larger than your.
You want to keep them to yourself.
People hate,
they're ours.
People hate Cena now because of that. Like he left us. I mean, people get older. They can't be working 360 days a year, taking bumps like that. I mean, I don't know. Cena. I'm not gonna say they didn't bump, but I'm saying like once they got older, they got smarter.
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal is to go work for like 4 months a year making movies and then call it a year.
Yeah,
like, that seems like the dream.
Yeah,
and more people need to hit that dream. In my viewpoint, I mean, it's always been cyclical. History's always repeated itself.
Yep.
This seems to be the part of history that's taking a little bit of time.
Yeah, I agree.
So, Boar, now we typically see you on Camp Leapfrog, and we absolutely love Camp Leapfrog. It's one of our favorite promotions. Why we love sponsoring it and watching every event. We love what you guys do, how fun it looks, how no matter how many times you look at a card, it still overproduces on that card. So it's definitely one of our favorites, and so glad that now it looks like maybe there's, with fans coming back, there might be a chance to actually go to a Camp Leapfrog show. But going forward, now, what are your plans? What do you look for as far as goals go? Are there other promotions that you're looking to that you think you would be a better fit in?
I think for me, the big goal on the independent scene has always been AIW, and I've had one match there right before the pandemic started. But I think for me, like, that's my, I guess, immediate goal is to get back to AIW. And I know it's tough to get in there because they got their own crew of guys and girls and people, that occupy the roster space there, and they absolutely tear it down every single show. Like, every single show is better than the last one. They've got an incredible crew. But for me, that's where I'd like to go, outside of just Camp Leapfrog.
Now, AIW, that's Midwest territory, correct?
Yeah, yep, that's Ohio, Cleveland.
Now, how is that? Because it hurts me as a Philadelphian to hear that Midwest area is so booming, because we were so accustomed to having great wrestling like all the time in Philadelphia, and it's kind of strayed away from this part of the Northeast, at least. I know New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, they still run heavy. Even Jersey runs really heavy. Like, the Philadelphia area is just kind of almost on the back burner, and the fans are just aching for it. Like, Philadelphia fans are passionate about any type of sports or entertainment that comes their way. How does it differ out that way? Because it looks like, from what I watched when there were crowds and whatnot, like, those fans show up. Like, it's like almost, you can tell why. It hurts me to see that that area is booming a lot more, but what is it about that Midwest territory?
I think they have, and I think this just might be a regional difference in general. I think the Midwest, there are more forgiving people and might have lower expectations. And when you exceed those expectations, when you do really bust your butt, and when they do see that, and when you do win them over, like, you've got them forever. Like, I had a much bigger reaction than I had any business getting at AIW, just because a few people knew me, and shout out to Pod Van Dam and those guys taking care of me. But I think that's part of the difference with the Midwest. I think they're a little bit more forgiving, and they're a little bit more excitable than the Philadelphia crowd. I think Philadelphia crowd has such a rich history of pushing the envelope. How close can you get to the edge without going over the edge, and then give us more? Like, the Philadelphia crowd, they're brutal, but at the same time, once you perform for them and once you win them over as well, you're theirs forever.
Yeah, we do cling on to anything that we get that we love, and we hate when it goes elsewhere. That sums up basically Philadelphia sports fandom in a nutshell.
Right, like just the feud itself between like the ECW Philly fans and the New York fans, like the way that Paul Heyman was able to position that was brilliant because he knew that about Philly fans even back in the 90s.
Well, yeah, you'd have to be blind to tell the New York Philly, like, how close we are, but how much. Like, we are very, very close. There's been similarities in the way we talk and act and all that, but how much we hate each other. Like, I don't know. It's just, you always, like, it's just there. Like, it's always been there since you were a kid. Fuck the Mets. It's always been there. The Giants. I mean, the Jets didn't play in our division, so it was more the Giants, the Mets. I mean, the Yankees, they were a crossover over everything. They were never in our division, but we hated the Yankees.
Hitting close to home, I'm a Yankees fan as well.
Oh, no.
Times aren't so good.
No, well, they're not good for us either.
Yeah.
Sports-wise. But we got the Sixers.
There you go.
That's what
I'm a Sixers fan.
All right. So, you must be from some either northern Pennsylvania?
Close. I grew up outside of Philly.
Outside of Philly?
Grew up outside of Philly,
But you're a Yankees fan.
But I'm a Yankees fan. I just happened to get into baseball, and the Yankees were the best team at the time. That was like 2000, 99, somewhere around there, and
That
been my
was
team since then.
Jeter, A-Rod.
Yeah.
Is that Clemens?
Bernie Williams,
Yeah.
Matsui.
One of the greatest
Fucking
teams.
Matsui.
Yeah.
Matsui's my dude.
Fucking Matsui. You gonna fucking name drop Matsui on this show? This motherfucker. I didn't know we had such a deep conversation. God. All right. We're gonna
Move on.
push past this one because we don't want to get into 2009. We don't want to do it here.
No, we don't want to do that at all.
No, we don't. We don't mention it now. We can't mention it. Now we're gonna pass through it. Get back to the fucking wrestling.
Yep.
But no, you can see that the Midwest territory, like the Chicago area, like has like a booming look. I mean, AEW just announced that they're going back to Chicago. Like, I want that. Like I know that Philadelphia can deliver. It's just, I feel like it's harder. I feel like it is. Like, I feel like if you go to Chicago, it's a sure shot. And I feel like if you test, like, Philly's more of a test the waters city anymore than the sure shots. Like, and I want to be a sure shot again. Like, I want, like, we got to go to Philly. We got to get that crowd because that crowd is insane. Like, New York still has it. Chicago's great. I mean, I think there's very few that are like that sure shot city.
Yeah. And that's why I'm intrigued with AEW running in St. Louis. Like, that is a historical wrestling town, but it's kind of like unclaimed territory. I don't feel like the WWE/F really ever won over St. Louis. I feel like that was still a holdover from the NWA days. So I'm really interested to see how St. Louis turns out for AEW.
Yeah, I guess that is one of those. I mean, what are they? No, I can't even think of the last big St. Louis. One of those ones you never hear of.
Yeah. Very little.
That's interesting. I mean, I think when you go to the thing is the demographic that goes to the AEW show knows what they're in for. They know you're not really, I mean, you'll bring your kids, but this isn't like a bring your kids family friendly, so to speak, event. Like, the people that are going are in their 20s, in their 30s, in their early 40s and whatnot. Like, that's where their key demographic is. So they seem to be more energetic. They seem to be like a hotter crowd. So, I mean, I feel like if you're in St. Louis and you bought tickets to the AEW show, you already know what you're in for the most part. You know what you're going there for. And sometimes with WWE, a lot of times with WWE, that's not the case. You don't know what you're getting, or you know what you're getting so much to the point of where you're just like, this again. AEW seems to get a little bit more hyped of a fan base.
Yeah, and I've always said, like, to WWE's on a defense necessarily, but let's see in 50 years if assuming AEW is still going to be around, how people feel about it, because we've had 50 years of WWE for people to, okay, I remember that from when I was a kid, or my granddad, and it's this again, I don't like it, or it phased out, or I'm only here for the kids. It's different cycles, and both companies have their own unique history. So But I think you tapped into a big thing, and I think that goes across all of wrestling. Like, I think every company could benefit, and I think that's why like AIW exceeds out in Cleveland, and I think that's why Leapfrog is growing and starting to grow more, because who's your demo? Who are you going after? Who are you appealing to? Who is this for? Make content for them, and be content with that. At the same time, trying to bring in more people that fit that demographic to come in and get eyes on your product. I think that's so important. And when you have a wider reach for your demographic, I think it's a little bit harder for people to be rabid necessarily about that.
Not to mention if you're, I mean, it's hard when you're WWE because you have the history and you have people that watch it because they are going to sit back and enjoy it. You have people that are just watching it to critique it, which doesn't do it any favors. And then you have people like us who just sit there and watch, be like, all right, well, I don't like this, fast forward, but I do like this, and so I'll watch that. So I'm saying guys like us. I don't know if you do that. I wasn't speaking for you. But I feel like what AEW does is they'll listen to that vocal minority a little bit more than WWE. I mean, does it always pay out? Probably not. But I think they're able to take more risks because they're so new. And I think that was the same thing with ECW, TNA. I mean, any of the newer promotions. It's just whether or not they find that key ingredient to withstand everything, like to prosper, so to speak, to actually grow to a point of where, okay, we're not going to take a hit. We're going to keep rapidly growing. I don't know if they have that ingredient yet, but I'm interested to see where it goes. Like, I have faith that they will figure it out and they will be like kind of like the secondary or the other wrestling. Like, you'll have the WWE people, or you'll have the AEW people, then you'll have people that'll watch all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I just think as long as business is good and companies are flowing and the money is coming in and hitting just the same, I think it's good for everybody, because at the end of the day, you want more places for everybody to work. You want more people being able to live their dream, providing a living for themselves and their family through professional wrestling / sports entertainment / pro wrestling.
I think a lot of people try and get too involved with that too, like to the point of where they forget, like, oh yeah, they're working for this company because this company is paying them to work there. They didn't decide to work here to sell out. This was like their dream, and like their dream was to quit their shoot job or their day job and to do this full time. And I think people are just like, people get too offended and people take it to heart when someone like, oh, they go there. Well, yeah, they went there because look, that's what they want to do. Like, you support them, or do you support only them to a certain extent?
Mm-hmm.
So I did want to ask you, because you said you watched the pay-per-view last night, and because you're in the profession, I want to get your thoughts from a person who's been in matches and has been in there with referees. During the Young Bucks title match, it was very apparent to me that the refereeing was being able to do whatever they wanted. There was no real rhyme or reason how many seconds that Nick and Matt could be in the ring. A whole lot. So much so that it got so frustrating for me that I counted at the end, and they were in the ring for 25 seconds, including the final 3. So when that happens in a match, is that a call by the ref calling it the way he wants it? Is it the person in the back, the producers of the match, calling it? How does that work and work into the show?
I think as a wrestler and I've been in that situation, or at least similar situations, where it's like, okay, well, how close am I to the referee's 5 count? I know, we're getting close here, but I think at the end of the day, it's about the excitement and being lost in that moment, and don't let the rules get in the way of good storytelling or a good match. And I know there's other people that are on the other side of that like to buckle into those rules hard and fast, no matter what the circumstances, honor the rules, honor the 5 count and all of that. And I don't disagree with that at all either, but I can see both sides of the coin there.
Here's what was weird about that. When he brought that up to me, he's never said anything like that ever. So he got to the point of where this was like the only, like he locked onto this rule. He's like, man, this is weird. Like he got to a point of where it was weird for him watching it and being like, why are they allowed in the ring for so long? Like he usually doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not.
He's not a stickler for the rules.
I'm not. I'm really not. It was so glaring to me, and it was taking my attention away from the storytelling and everything going on in the ring, that it was just. It just for some reason caught my attention, and I couldn't get it out of my head then, and that's all I was looking for the whole match.
I felt if they would have said no disqualification before the match, you would have been fine. It's just that sometimes you're looking a little bit too deeply.
Yeah, which I typically don't do, which is weird. That's why it kind of really threw me off last night. I
blame the Leinenkugel. It focused you in on the wrong part. You weren't able to focus on what was going on in front of you. It was the summer shandy.
I guess. So, Boar, going forward, are there anything coming up? I mean, I know obviously maybe another leapfrog, but anything
any tag team matches you got going on soon?
Yeah, we got some tag team matches lined up. Those have yet to be publicly released, but our latest match was with the Let's Hang Out crew over at the Real Rumble, the LVAC. They put on fantastic shows, and myself and Erica Lee, the Gummy Bear Kid, the Saint of the Poo Poo Pee Pee. She's my favorite. Like, she's the best partner I've ever had, and it's a blast teaming with her. And we sync up so well together in how we see wrestling and just wanting to beat people up and have fun. That's what we want to do and make money. So she's the best. And if you have the chance, check out those matches when they hit from the LVAC. I think that's going to be distributed out of Smart Mark and IWTV. But yeah, everything we have coming up has yet to be announced yet. And I don't know if that's because they're not sure if those shows are going to have fans or limited fans or what the situation is going to be yet. But we do have some stuff coming up in the summer.
All right, not to blow past this is a pretty interesting topic for professional wrestling. How does it feel to be in an intergender? Like, how is that different from same gender tag team wrestling? Or because when you're in an intergender tag team, it's always an intergender match. Like, how is that working that style?
Yeah, I think there are, like, not to go too inside baseball here, but like I think when you are putting on a match, I do think you have to be conscious of like how long just the visual and strictly the visual aspect for everybody that is there in the crowd, right? Like, if I see my partner is in there, Erica, and she's been taking a beating, and we're down bad right now, and I might have to take it upon myself to get in the ring and be a little bit more aggressive and to help out, because it can be uncomfortable if there is a dynamic there of a man beating up a woman, especially if you have children there who maybe don't understand necessarily the full context of, no, she said this is okay, this is what she signed up for, everybody is treated as equals. Like, I do think that you have to bring the audience along with you on that ride and get everybody caught up to speed. And I think that is an area which wrestling is headed into, and I think ultimately we'll get there. But I do think you have to think of everybody as the whole and not just, okay, well, this guy is 40 and he says intergender wrestling is great because everybody consents to it. There's children, there's younger people, there's people who are there for the first time, and you have to clue them in and let them know, hey, what's going on is okay, but at the same time, be conscious of it. My partner, she's down bad right now. We're down bad right now. I need to get in the ring. And it's been on the other side of the coin too, where like I'm getting beat down and she's like, yo, like, this sucks. What are you doing, dude? And she'll get in the ring and help me out. So I think maybe for that reason, a little bit more protective of each other. And I don't know if that's necessarily the intergender aspect. It might just be the tight-knit friendship that we have. We're a little bit more protective of each other than we have been, I think, of previous tag team partners.
Okay, makes sense. Well, Boar, listen, we want to thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us, especially on a holiday. So it was great talking to you. We look forward to seeing you at the next Leapfrog event or anything in all tag matches coming up. And thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you for having tons of my friends on. I know Dan Champ's going to be on tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. And just thank you for the platform. Thank you for the good talk and good hang.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. We hope you have a good night.
All right, take care, guys.
All right.